Yo, what is going on, guys? Aspect Gaming out once again in GTNH, and today I'm going to be wrapping up ZPM. Not many tasks left to do. We're almost done with the quest book for ZPM as well. So what I've been working on right now is this hot isostatic pressurization unit, and this thing is pretty straightforward to make, the main new thing being this block of Nequadria. So we went ahead and made Nequadria. And to do that, it was a couple extra unit operations onto the NAC line, and I went ahead and did all these off cameras because I wanted to get ahead of things and let it run overnight. So yeah, the low quality Nequadria phosphate dust. This comes from Nequadria oxide mixture dust plus phosphoric acid in a centrifuge. And you also very interestingly get some indium back for this. So that's a passive source of indium. And this is actually coming from the meteors we're running directly. So from the UV crystal processor mainframe meteor, you can get like over 1,000 Nequadria, which is really nice. You also get a whole bunch from the mass fabricator one, but we run that less often. Yeah, from there you take the low quality Nequadria phosphate dust, run this in an LCR with sulfuric acid, and then you get Nequadria rich solution. Put this in the neutron activator. We've done this before. This gets you Nequadria sulfate dust, and then you can turn that either into ingots or electrolyze it into the dust, which is pretty straightforward. Overnight, I also made the LSAA, the large scale auto assembler. So what this guy does, it allows you to overclock your... You can use multiple energy hatches on your assembler to get higher tiered recipes. So in this case, I have 2 ZPM hatches. Therefore, we can do UV recipes. So overnight, I requested 1,000 electrum flux coil blocks. And I've replaced all the coils in the base pretty much with these. But yeah, I'm missing a couple here and there. See, like I missed these ones. Yeah, for the most part, we're replacing all the coils that matter. So yeah, all my blast furnaces are running with electrum flux coils now. And I believe you stick with these for a little while because the next tier seems to be a bit more difficult to get. Or we're at least able to get this quite easily, so I just made a ton of it. I've also added a quad Vulcani over here. This is a Platline dedicated Vulcani. I've had to run my Platline constantly right now because I want to make a Mega Blast Furnace. But to do what I want to do, let's take a look real quick. You need over 1,000 glass. And to make this thing run with lasers, you need osmium glass. So I need a lot of osmium. We are slowly building up the osmium supply, but this has to run for a while longer. So I've been running a couple hours, but things are much quicker now, especially with the MCRs and stuff. So we will allow it to progress, and eventually we will have tons of materials. Okay, I put some thought into this. I've finished the HIP right here, which is the upgrade compressor, essentially. And what this thing needs to do, this has an interesting mechanic to it, which was pretty simple to plan around. But this has a overheating mechanic. So when this machine runs, it generates heat over time, and you need to allow it to cool down, basically. So if we read the tooltip here, the more advanced coils allow for better heat control. So we're using the best coils we have right now, which is the electrum flux. And then the unit cools by 2% base every second while not running. And the cooling rate increases by an additional 2% for each second since running. Okay? So the machine will cool down faster if you allow it to cool down in fast bursts, basically. So I have a control circuit underneath. I have 2 heat hatches right here. These are the heat sensor hatches. So one of these is going to be saying, if I am below 5% heat, I will exert a signal. So that's why this one's on right now. And this one's going to say when I'm over 95%, I will turn a signal on. So let's imagine that this signal's off right now. We are running the compressor, heat gets high. This turns on. This flips the RS latch over to the other side. This machine is on, let me just show you. The machine controller is on enable the redstone, so the redstone's disabled right now. That will disable the machine. So now, this is going to allow stuff to cool down at this moment, and we're cooling down. This is not outputting a redstone signal yet. We drop below 5, which maybe, this can even be like 1, honestly. So it's like 1%, and then this turns on, flips the RS latch, and then heat begins to build again. This goes back to normal. There's no signal here, but the signal stays on the right side here, which powers the machine until it reaches 95% heat, where this turns on again, flips it back. You know the drill from now on. So that's how we're going to be running this. Make sure we put that back to normal. I think this makes sense for the setup. I think this is the best way to do it. This will make it so the machine doesn't constantly like flicker on and off when it's at high heat. And also, I don't even know if I mentioned it, but the reason you do this is that if you're overheated, it will start to void recipes. So that's bad. We don't want to do that. So this should be good now. I'm going to move all my patterns over to this thing now. And while we're at it, we should optimize a ton of patterns for the compressor as well. Yeah, which is over here. Yeah, most of these are very old recipes. So let's multiply some of these out. Probably by a lot. And we're going to see how far we can take them. Okay, we're much better optimized now. A lot of patterns get multiplied by like 128, 64. Some of them even by 512. These were all one-off singleton recipes, like one for one, you know? Such an old setup. I need to go back through all the things and check that. But the reason we had to make this guy is for super dense plates. So we need to make super dense europium plates, and these are required for the Mark II fusion reactor. So I think we can make pretty much everything else for this right now. The PPIC wafers are just an upgraded form of the NPIC wafers. Cunarium, indium gallium phosphide, and NPIC wafers gives you PPIC wafers. The cunarium is a small problem right now, but we can make this in the fusion reactor actually as well. So maybe we'll switch over, or even just build a new one that makes cunarium. So let me see how I want to deal with that supply issue. Hello to the third donut. This is probably the last Mark I we're going to make for a little while. I have 2 of these running on cunarium right now as well. And I had a whole bunch of cunarium left over from when I used to do the cunarium glowstone breeding. I used to use that for batteries, like way back in EV, if you remember that. But I had a whole bunch of that left over, and I probably could scrounge up more if I wanted, but I'm doing the recipes for the Mark II Fusion kind of piecemeal right now. I have a lot of stuff going on right now, and a lot of problems showing up, like a lot of big problems. First off, requesting 2,000 crystal processors is painful, extremely painful. So right now, what I've been doing to get around a lot of my slow processes is level maintaining things overnight. This is starting to be no longer sufficient. I need to expand by a lot. So the 3 biggest problems for me right now, the autoclave is a massive problem. What else? The cutting machine is a very large one. Probably not as big as the autoclave, but it is still a problem. And then this laser engraver is another huge issue. So those are the top 3 right now. I think we're going to start approaching those. Actually, there's one more that's even bigger than those 2. And that is the assembly line. I only have 1 of them still. So as you see in the craft up here, I'm trying to make 7 more right now. It's a struggle, to say the least. So yeah, we're going to crawl across the finish line, and we're going to greatly expand very soon is where I'm getting at, I think, right now. So I got to set some stuff to go overnight. Those are the 4 priorities right now. The circuit assembly lines are also very slow. Like, it's crazy to me how quickly it goes from being this, like, incredible speed boost to being just completely insufficient, way too slow. So I want to get, like, 4 of every circuit assembly line minimum for each circuit tier, because they're just way too slow, and it's a big problem. So that's, like, number 5 on the list. There's a lot there. The list is getting quite long, if you can tell. And I see where this thing's going, like where the rest of the game is going. It's going to be dealing with this back and forth constantly. So I'm going to plan on how I'm going to make 8 parallel assembly lines, and we'll be back, I guess, whenever that's done crafting 2,000 circuits. All right, I am back 2 days later. Not because it took that long, because I've been doing stuff for the holiday. Greg Tech Player, Leave His House Challenge. But in the meantime, real quick, last night I went and crafted up this, my first Mark II fusion reactor. So I made this really late, so I don't want to record while I did it. But this guy's been producing me americium for like hours and hours. And the recipe for americium is a little bit expensive on paper. Let's go take a look at it. I have a lot of it now, by the way. This is like, oh, how many ingots? Well, I mean, it's like 3,000, because if 144 is how many? So it's like 1.5 each. So it's something like that. We have a lot right now, but we're going to need a lot more than that, to be honest. But let's take a look at the recipe for it. This is the basic one you got to do. It takes lutetium and chrome. The lutetium is a little bit difficult to access. The good news is that we have a very good source of this. And you might guess, but I've been planning for this. The meteor ritual. So yeah, we acquire this from the ZPM circuit assembler. Pretty soon we'll unlock the UV crop synthesizer. This guy is going to give us so much more lutetium, as well as there's something else that's really nice in here. What was it? Yeah, it's going to give us more americium in here as well. So that'll be very nice when we can afford that, which should be relatively soon. We might be able to start getting those rolling with the amount of americium I have right now. But yeah, over here, I'm testing out a new device. You might have seen this in my inventory the last couple episodes, but I've been playing around with this matter manipulator, but I haven't had like that great of a use case for it yet until today. So these are my new assembly line setups. I'm working on getting a data bank set up here, so I have the assembly line reception connector. We will get to that later, but essentially, we're going to be storing data in a data bank and bringing that data to the assembly lines with optical fiber cables. So I could actually copy paste these as well, but I'll place them down later for the culture of it, you know? So let's explain what this thing does. This thing is like Giga OP. I'm learning that. And so basically what we have here, I already tested this on the single assembly line, but if you don't remember the assembly line automation, I did this a while ago. There's a great video by 9 that covers this, but essentially what you have here are storage buses with descending priorities. That's 100. You pick one in the middle randomly here. This is 84. And then like it keeps going down. It's like 100, 98, 96, 94. And then you make your way all up here. This one's 70. So it will insert items one by one into the input bus ULVs, which is as expected, which is how we want it. Same goes for the liquids. Now, what you might imagine is that if I want to make like a lot of assembly lines, I got to set these priorities on every one. That'd be pretty annoying. I do believe there's a way to copy that, but even still, that would be annoying too. Well, guess what? I didn't set these priorities by hand over here. These are all set up properly. That one should be 70 up here. This was placed by the matter manipulator. So what you have right now, the matter manipulator has many modes, and I'm not going to mess with this one right now, but the mode that I'm on right now is the copying mode. So Aditya has a really good video on this. I'm not going to fully explain every mode right now, but inside the copying mode, you mark your area that you want copied, which is this blue area here. So I want to copy both my assembly lines and their accompanying AE2 cabling. So then I set my paste mode. I mark my paste area, which is over here. And then you can see my inventory is pretty clear right now. As long as I have the items in my AE2 storage, which this guy is connected to, it will place it automatically. You just gotta hold shift and right click. There we go. So it placed 2 more assembly lines, and these should be already set up for me. Yeah, they are. That is incredible. Yeah, that is impressive. So yeah, I'm gonna continue placing these. I think we're gonna go for maybe we'll go for six for right now, because I have an idea with these. So essentially, I want to have these be like the mass production assembly lines, and then over here, I'll keep this single assembly line for like the up-tiered assembly line. So like if I ever have a moment where I want to throw like a ridiculous number of like energy hatches on this, I can do that over here, and it won't interrupt my plans over here, which this is going to get pretty complicated. But yeah, I'm going to keep placing 2 more of these down. And you know, let me just show you how I can just copy it, keep it copied, and move the mark paste location over. And you can be pretty specific with this. You can like modify your location, but I'm just going to like drag it where I want it. Oh, I misclicked. Oh my god, I did it again. But yeah, you can go in and manually edit these, I believe. Where is it? No. Edit transform, that's where it is. Okay, and these buttons over here where the paste mode is, this is where I can move it left and right, basically. So now I think that looks correct, and you can always go and inspect it to make sure. So let's take a look at it closer. So that the controller is there. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then yeah, this is what I want it to be. So we can place these again. And even if you mess up, you can also delete stuff with this. So if you mess up bad, you can undo your work as well. And if you're also missing blocks, it'll let you know, and it won't disrupt it at all. It'll just tell you you're missing a ZPM energy hatch, then you can just go craft it. I think there is a way for this to craft it itself, but I haven't seen it do that. It's just told me that I'm missing blocks so far. But yeah, this is awesome. So that was like, and that was a task that could have taken me multiple hours before I had this, but with that, it was like instantaneous. So now I'm going to wire these all up. And I have not determined where my bank's going to be yet, my data bank, but that's something to figure out. That'd be pretty easy to do. This could even go down, honestly, and then go down and around like that. Let me decide where that's going to go, and then we can finish this project up. All right, everything is solved. I have it figured out now. So I moved my data bank over to right here. This guy's going to be living here. I'm going to need to make a second one pretty soon, to be honest, because if I want more assembly lines or more storage, you need to have more slots, and you can chain them together, but we'll get there when we get there. I need to see how to do that. But anyways, make sure if you don't want to put in all of your data access hatches or transmission connectors right at the beginning, you can put computer casings in here, not the heat vent casings. So just remember that computer casings go in here. Also, it's not hollow, so take a look at that. There's 3 computer casings in the center as well. But you put your patterns in here. I'm trying to organize them a little bit. I guess not patterns, data sticks in here with the that you've scanned. Trying to be a little bit organized. And then on the bottom here, I have all my transmission connectors. So every optical fiber cable is 1-to-1 with another assembly line, unfortunately. Down underneath, I have a whole bunch of routing of the cables down here. I figured out a decent way to do it in the end, but my first couple ones are a little bit messed up. But you color each cable all the way through, and you also color the hatch it comes from and the connector that it goes to. So these ought to be the same color. This guy, the pipe, and then the hatch it goes to. And then you're connected. These should go from reading, these should say no valid recipe found once we're reading that. If they can't find data sticks, I think it'll say like no data stick found. So that's how you can tell if it's working. But yeah, pretty simple on this end of it. On the back end, I did something a little bit interesting that I did some research on ways to implement this, and I found out that there were P2P tunnels with ME dual interfaces on them, and instantly it clicked. So what you want to do here is make a whole bunch of dual interfaces like this that are inside of P2P tunnels, and then these are going to go to subnets, which are on the ASLine subnet, and then these are going to be just regular dual interfaces. So these have advanced blocking cards on them, all 4 of them, and that is because I want these P2Ps to be checking this subnet. Are there items in here? No. Go. I will insert. If yes, I will go to the next assembly line and continue down the line, because that's what these P2Ps are able to do. So these ones are the input P2Ps. Therefore, I place my patterns in here. These are all output P2Ps. I've had to retake this a couple times. These are a little bit confusing to me still. But the output P2P dual interfaces are essentially clones of the input dual interfaces. So where this one has the patterns stored in it, these ones you don't see the patterns in here at all, but it's still able to like see into the input P2P, and it's essentially a copy of that dual interface in all these slots. So I think that's the best way to put it. And then again, all these I have advanced blocking cards and then blocking mode on the P2Ps and the dual interfaces as well. So what it does now is it copies all the recipes in this one, and it asks itself, can I insert into the assembly lines? Because they all have blocking mode on, so it can only have one recipe at a time. If the answer is yes, it goes ahead and does it. If the answer is no, it'll go to the next assembly line and it'll parallel them. So that's pretty nice. And I think that we're solved here now. I can move on to the next topic. So thanks to all the big projects I'm doing right now, I've had time to craft a lot of things. One of which I've made is the Precise Electronic Unit Casings Mark II. These are going to upgrade my presses a little bit, which is good. The only problem with this is that my presses are not necessarily equipped for the upgrade in the first place, because in order to do this upgrade to make the most of it, let's take a look at the press multi. So what these casings do is they increase the number of parallels. So the imprecise Mark 01s are 16x, Mark 1s are 32, Mark II, which I have now, are 64x. My patterns are not necessarily equipped to even handle that, but if I go through and optimize my patterns, it'll be a big speed boost, so I will do that. And now's as good of a time as any to do this. I want to rename my presses, as you see here. I'm going from a more complicated and specific name to a simplified one that is much easier to type into my terminal. So I want to be able to type them as quickly as possible, because if I can't, it's pretty annoying to scroll through the all the interfaces that I have now, which is quite a lot. So we're going to name these in a much simplified way that will allow me to search them up more easily. All right, I think that's enough for today. The rest of my plans are going to be huge multi-expansions from over here. I want to upgrade these and make a huge array of electrolyzers, autoclaves, stuff like that. But I feel like it's better suited for next episode. which is going to be the big number 50. So I'm trying to think of something to do for that that'll make it special. We're going to be entering UV, which I guess is a milestone in itself, but maybe we'll do like a base tour or something before that. We'll see what we do. But yeah, until next time, guys, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good day.